Now, the NBA is finally back, and the first game, yeah, it was pretty underwhelming. It was a blowout. Within the first 5 minutes of the game was already wrapped up. And that's just what happens sometimes, particularly when the Warriors just aren't in a situation to win as much as I think they can a bit later down the line. And yeah, I'll talk about why I think that just in a bit, but a lot of people are probably going to be covering the Brooklyn Nets, so I thought, why not cover it from the Warriors' perspective? There's only going to be a couple of games tonight, and I might as well cover the Warriors. Now, before I even get into that, if you could drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, that would be much appreciated. I'm trying to hit 20k at some point in time, so doing that would be much appreciated. Anyways, the Warriors. So yeah, a lot of people are going to be looking at this and thinking, this is the same old Golden State from last year. They're going to be bottom of the league again. They're going to be terrible. Everyone's going to overreact. Steph Curry can't lead a team. All of these narratives are going to come out within the first day or two. But let's just settle down. I talked about this in a video a couple of days ago. Teams that have a really newly formed core are going to struggle a lot. I know the Nets got Kyrie and KD, and that's kind of a new team-ish, but there's still kind of a lot of the existing pieces, and I mean, you're plugging in KD and Kyrie. It's not like you're plugging in role players. These guys know how to get things done, so it's a bit different. But let's look at the Warriors. You've got James Wiseman came in playing the first game of his NBA career. He didn't even play preseason. You then had Kelly Oubre, first Warriors game. Andrew Wiggins only played about 20 games towards the end of the season for the Warriors. Pascal didn't play any preseason games, was coming off an injury. That's 4 players. That's the starting 5. Steph Curry's coming off an injury. The starting 5, Steph didn't play last year, Pascal didn't play in the preseason, Oubre didn't play for the Warriors last year, Wiggins played 20 games for the Warriors last year, and Wiseman hasn't even stepped foot on an NBA court before. And you're expecting this team to be good from the get-go? No. That's just ridiculous. Not to mention they're missing their second best player in Draymond Green, who we'll talk about in a bit, because the disrespect for Draymond Green, I think people might start to realize how impactful he is when he comes back, and this team looks completely different because he does a lot of things that just can't be replaced, that just won't be replaced. But yeah, let's just put it into perspective. All of those things, and you expect this team to come out crispy, it's just not going to happen. It's going to take a few games for these guys to adjust to a new environment and a new system and get to their best. And not to mention, you're coming up against a Nets team that look the real deal. It's going to be hard for any team in the NBA to defend these guys when they've got it going, and they had it going. Kyrie Irving, when he's in that kind of mood, when he can do those kind of things with the ball, it's just nothing you can do. Kevin Durant, the same can be said. 2 of the best shot creators in the NBA on one team, and then coming off the bench, you think you finally get some respite, and Karis LeVert comes in and drops 10 points in the matter of 5 minutes. That's the kind of team you're coming up against. This team is going to be one of the best offensive teams in the NBA, if not the best. So you've got a new team full of new pieces, still adjusting to a new system, and you go up against a team like the Nets, it's going to be trouble. And the reality is the Warriors didn't actually start terribly. They had some sloppy turnovers, which they need to cut down on, and they need another ball handler, so guys like Wiggins and Oubre aren't taking the ball up the floor. That's where Draymond comes into effect, because what people fail to forget is Steph comes back, but he's not someone that takes the ball up the floor and always creates off the dribble. He likes to run off screens. He likes to do a lot of off-ball things, and that opens up the space for everyone else on the team, and that's why he's so valuable, and that's why he's so good, because of what he does off the ball, and he can't really do as much off the ball when you've got guys like Wiggins and Oubre trying to create who just are subpar creators. That's the reality. Draymond Green is one of the best playmakers in the entire NBA. So the difference in that is just incredible, and that changes everything. Not to mention, the first quarter, the Warriors actually had some solid ball movement. Oubre and Wiggins really struggled from 3. There's no other way to put it. Those two were pretty dreadful from 3. I don't know the numbers in front of me, but we saw it. The first quarter, they couldn't hit a shot. James Wiseman was still adjusting, and we'll talk about him because, yeah, look, I missed the 4th quarter. I went to have a shower, if you must know, and I come back and he scores like 8 points in 2 minutes. So I guess I missed that. But I've now seen the highlights, and everything that we thought he could be is already here. That touch that we thought was there, but we needed to see in NBA games, because we've seen players in practice. Andre Drummond hits 100 threes in practice every single day, and then he doesn't do any of that in the NBA. Now, I didn't expect Wiseman to be that kind of player, but I didn't know if his 3-point touch was going to translate. I thought he would have that mid-range jumper from the get-go and maybe like a nice floater. But to see his 3-point shot already coming through, that's huge. That changes everything. That's going to be really important. And like I said, this is his first game in the space of a year. Over a year. He hasn't played in over a year since he played in Memphis. It's been so long, so you expect this guy to come out the gates and start firing. He was a little bit slow to start the game, but then obviously towards the end of the game, he picked it up. He just looked like someone who hadn't played much basketball, someone who did look like they've been playing a lot of basketball, and someone who has been good his whole career is Steph Curry. He came in, I think he shot 7 for 21, which was a bit surprising. I didn't remember him missing that many shots. He was looking at his best. But the reality is he's going to have nights where he doesn't shoot 60% from the field, particularly on a team like this. But you can tell when Steph is at his best. And just a few of the moves, him getting to the rim, him driving into contact with a couple of reverse layups, him hitting step back deep threes, driving into the defense and kicking out to open shooters. He did all of that. The difference is he didn't have a secondary playmaker in Draymond Green who can normally take a lot of the load off Steph and let Steph play off ball, which he loves to do and he thrives in. So Steph was asked to do a lot of things on the ball, which sometimes led to double teams that he was trying to shoot over. He was trying to make plays through double teams. It was just a lot to ask of someone coming back from an injury. And I think I've seen enough from Steph to already suggest he's going to be perfectly fine. We know what he's going to be. We got to talk about the other guys. Let's start with Andrew Wiggins. He's going to get a hard rap. Wiggins was bad. There's no two ways to put it. Like, he doesn't move the ball enough. I don't know what he's doing. There was one where he went up for a lob and then he looked the other way. He turned around. He then missed a layup, I think. It was bad. If we learnt one thing, which I don't think we need to take too much out of this game because all of those reasons I mentioned, I don't think this is what you're going to see from the Warriors in 20 games time. But if we're going to take one thing out of it, Wiggins is not fit to run that second unit. He's not fit to be the primary ball handler on the second unit. Well, he wasn't even really the primary ball handler. I don't really know what he was doing on the second unit. He was just kind of there. I thought that maybe he gets a bit more freedom on the second unit, like Karis LeVert. He can just attack, play his game, and finish and do all of those things, play make a bit, because he's done that before. He doesn't look fit to do that, and that's where someone like Draymond comes in, and he's going to split minutes with Steph. Steph will spend the first quarter with the first team. Draymond will spend half of that quarter with the first team, and then spend half of the quarter with the second team, and it'll just mean that there's not going to be such a distinct loss to the team when Steph isn't off the floor in terms of shot creation, because outside of Steph, they really have no one. It's a bit worrying, but you're going to have to hope that Wiseman continues to show what he can do. You're going to have to hope that Draymond can come back to his best, which I've still got hopes for Draymond. People are looking at last year. Last year was a lost cause. Draymond is not a floor raiser. He's a ceiling raiser, and this team needs that. In terms of his communication, something that was missed and something that will be missed until he gets back. His communication on the defensive end of the floor, you can't underestimate it. He gets Wiseman, he gets Wiggins, he gets Oubre into the right spots because he's calling out from behind and he's telling them where to go and making the right reads. You just can't underestimate his voice and his communication skills. Don't underestimate it. Offensively, he does the same thing. He's the leader of this team. Now, the issue is with this Warriors team, I think they're going to start the season slow. For all of the reasons I mentioned, it's going to take a while to adjust. We don't know when Draymond's going to be back. We don't know if he's going to be healthy from the get-go. And they could start the season 5-9 or something. That's my only concern. My concern isn't that 20 games from now, this team is going to be the same team we saw. It's not going to be the case. The impact of Draymond Green, not only does he help the team, the starting unit, and the second unit when he's on the floor, the difference is you get Eric Paschall back, another player that I haven't even mentioned. He played no preseason games. He looked off the pace. He was one of the Warriors' best players last year. I know it's saying something, but he was one of their best players, if not their best player when Draymond wasn't there. He gets back to his best, and that just means another player goes out of the rotation that just isn't fit to be in the rotation. And it's a knock-on effect. Wiseman starts to play more minutes, and then someone else is out of the rotation. I'm sorry I'm just cutting jobs at this point, but that's the reality. You want to look at points where you can improve, and you get 30 minutes from Draymond. It just means you get 30 minutes less of bench players that might not be cut out to work at the NBA level. So that's the big difference. Eric Paschall is going to come back. There's going to be a lot of overreactions to this Warriors game and to the Nets on both ends of the floor. The reality is the Warriors came up against a red-hot team that were thriving in preseason, and they blew out the Celtics. Don't forget that. Just because it was preseason, people didn't really worry about it. The same thing happened. The Celtics were playing their full team, and they got blown out. So did the Wizards. These are both teams people think are going to make the playoffs. The Celtics are apparently a championship contender. Not saying they're not, but that's the reality. That's what people think of them as. And they both got blown out. So let's hold your horses on the Warriors. They got blown out by a team that has the offensive firepower to do it to any single team in the NBA on a given night. And they were hot tonight. So I'm not too worried about this team. I'm worried that it might be too late before they actually get everything together. But you bring back Draymond, their second best player, one of the 10 to 15 best players in the league when he's healthy and when he's at his best, which he hasn't been in a couple of years since the playoffs against Portland when he was a top 10 player in the NBA and he was absolutely dominating. He hasn't been at his best since then. But if he gets back to his best, this team is going to make the playoffs. No two ways to put it. I've seen enough. Wiseman, silver lining to take out of it. Steph Curry looks back to his best. Kelly Oubre and Wiggins, they look a bit lost. Hopefully, they're going to realize that they need to hit open threes. They need to move without the ball. They need to not be isolation players. They need to continue to move the ball and not be a black hole in offense. Pascal, as I said, he just came back from injury. He just wasn't healthy. He didn't look great out there. He's going to come back and he's going to be better. There's just a number of reasons to still be relatively optimistic about this team, and I'm just giving you the reasoning as to why I don't think there's any reason to panic, if that even makes sense. Basically, the Warriors are going to be fine. That's my conclusion from the game. If you did enjoy the video, a like would be greatly appreciated. Subbing to the channel as well. My screen is now black. Anyways, I'll catch you next time. Bye.